good.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear tips plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
I'm freshly shaved for this one, Benny, because we've got a very, very important guest. You know,
you are looking smooth, smooth and fast.
That's because I look like a caveman about 10 minutes ago. So
you got polished up. All right, welcome to the podcast. Mr. Paul Van Bellen is back after a quick trip up north in Australia. If you follow his Instagram channel, looked like there was a bit of beef going on in the beach, a bit of fighting. Surfers.
Yeah, it was funny. Julian, the couple of surfers weren't happy that Julian was putting out in 5-10 knots, but he's so respectful. He's so, like he puts out. He asks the surfers. He says, "Oh, do you mind?" And they're like, a couple of like, yeah. But as soon as he gets one wave, you get some grumpy surfer that just doesn't like it. It's so funny. It's so funny.
It's just a different world, those surfers. We're all happy to see other windsurfers, or most of us, although maybe the Aussies not. Aussies are grumpy just in general. Sorry to say.
Yeah, they're grumpy. Some of them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get into the podcast because we do have a special guest today. We have got someone who has been German champion. He'll have to tell me the exact number, but it's got to be over 10 times. I remember seeing him back in the day just smashing out championship after championship, really proved himself on the World Cup podiums, and then more recently got more into the business side. And then early this year, it was announced he is the new category manager because they've changed it. Oh, it's not a brand manager because it's such a big company. And we are talking about North Windsurfing, and we are talking about Mr. Vincent Langer. So let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. Here he is.
Welcome, Vincent.
Hope you are not also saying this about Germans. Are the Germans also the grumpy ones?
Well, to be honest, honestly, the Aussies, I think, are the most grumpiest. Like, they've got the whole place to themselves. And then there's two people out there like, oh, it's so busy. Oh, it's so busy. So busy. But yes, we got Vincent Langer in the house. We're going to be talking about we're going to get a brief history from you. We're going to obviously talk about the new job, what it entails. We're going to have to talk about 3DI versus normal because we've seen the Prisma project, just launched. We've also got the IFCA World Championships happening at this very moment. And your team rider, Mr. Pierre Mortefon, has won the opening race. I haven't seen the second elimination yet. So the
second elimination was just won by Amado, Pierre third. And second.
Wow. Okay. So we are kicking off this podcast at probably the perfect time. So for people who don't know, obviously North Sails, which I think if you're into Windsurf, you will know North Sails, one of the biggest brand names, has kind of pushed back in the last couple of years after sort of taking a little bit of a step back. They pushed through with the 3DI technology, which, a lot of people are talking about. Never really has any World Cup races. And I was always asking, like, every time I would see Pierre, I was like, why haven't you got any World Cup races? Come on. And then this winter, it was announced you just signed Pierre Mortefon, like one of the biggest big hitters ever, and Amado Vrieswijk, who is like, just saying too much about Amado. And then obviously they've just won the first two races. So where do we start? Paul? Come on. Paul's probably the guy who doesn't maybe know you as much. I mean, I'm obviously involved in racing commentary. I know it. Paul, I reckon we're going to ask you where do we start with this fella? Because so much to unpack and talk about.
Yeah, so as I briefly said before, Vincent, so fantastic for coming on the podcast. Thanks so much. But maybe you could just give us a bit of a brief background to how you found yourself in this position. What Ben said, you're a German windsurf champion or whatever, and now you're working with North. So could you give us a bit of a background of how you got here?
Yes, I started windsurfing when I was quite young, like at 9, 10 years old, and I always wanted to be a professional windsurfer. And that was what I was doing for more than 15 years now. I was working together with quite a few brands, with Point 7, Duotone, Roberto Ricci, and so on. And I was always involved basically also in the development. But beside, I was always studying. So I have 2 master degrees, one in history and sports, the other one in management. And I was also on the world tour, not so often. When you would ask Jordi, he would say I'm the most successful PWA rider because in total, I was just doing 6 World Cups in my whole life, not
Oh,
more,
really? What is
just
that
6.
all?
That is all, but I won some
Wow.
and so on. But honestly, for me, the World Cup was never that thing that I wanted to achieve. I only wanted to have fun on the water. That was always my priority. And I was just doing the events which were important for my sponsors so that I could go windsurfing every day. That was just my passion. And I never really felt that I need to compete with all the other guys because when I was there, it was a good fight always. And as I was always in Tenerife with Pierre and Jordi and Matteo and all the other guys, I was in this group already, but I was never really a PWA racer.
That's actually so interesting because obviously I have commented on I don't know how many races, but if you'd have asked me how many PWAs you'd done, there's no way I would have said only 6. That's crazy.
Yes. That's
because
crazy.
you were definitely the wild card of wild cards because like you say, you never did really the whole tour. Did you actually ever do the whole tour? Because usually it was just picking and choosing. So Sylt obviously was a big one for you in Germany.
But only 3 times I was doing Sylt. And then I was Friedrichshafen. I was one time in Korea. Yeah, it was not so much. When I talked to, I don't know, 1 year ago, he said, it's good that you were not always there. It's good that you were not always there. So it was nice.
What years are we talking, Vince?
2015, 16, 17.
So
quite some time ago.
And just to tell everyone, what was your best ever PWA result?
I was second in Sylt.
Second in Sylt, yeah, that's like exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. And I know every time you were on the water, everyone's like, you were the name. People were saying like they didn't want you. Yeah. And for that someone who didn't do the whole tour, didn't do all the events, that is pretty mad that you never had that urge to just.
No, because I know I was fast and I know I was competitive, especially in all the training races. And when I was showing up, and usually I was doing quite a lot of Formula and IFCA events, there were always some. Enrico was there, Maciek, and so on, and it was always a hard fight. And to be honest, most of the time I was even winning those events because I was focusing for that. Because time for my partners in Germany were much more important than being 3rd, 4th, 5th in the PWA. They had no idea that basically they are the best guys. If you're coming on European champion title, they were happy, and that was basically what I was living from.
That's cool.
So you did this 6 events, and then what happened after that?
I was just concentrating on national events and IFCA and Formula. So till last year, I was a professional windsurfer, but beside, I was always working in the business world as a consultant, for example, for different companies. And coming to basically the North story, at the middle of last year, one of the shareholders came to me and asked, Vinci, what do you think about North? And I told him a little bit what I was thinking about 3DI, the presence in the market, basically all the development which I knew. And then he was giving me some more informations. And basically, we agreed that I'm writing a concept for that brand to bring it, let's say, to bring it back or to make it more present. And this is how basically everything was starting. But at the beginning, I was not super keen to do this, to be honest, because I knew some difficulties also with 3DI. I was not 100% convinced that that is the right way to go. But after writing this concept, we had to basically focus on what should we achieve this year. So what is the plan for windsurfing? Should we be market leader in 1 year? Impossible. The windsurfing market is quite small. It's hard. It's fighting a lot. Price point sales. We are not having any price point sales. So what was the goal for North Sales and for me in 2026? Yes. They said, first, we need to build brand equity. What does it mean? We need to be world champion. So I was writing We need a good guy to be able to basically win a world title. So who is it? It's basically, to be honest, just two guys. It's Matteo or it's Pierre. So we signed Pierre because I used to work with Pierre when I was on Duotone back in the days, and I know he's professional and good. And then we also took Amado because always for testing and so on, it's good to have a second good guy. And in my opinion, Amado is the best windsurfer in the world. He's not the best racer right now, but
all around for sure.
Best windsurfer. So we are having now, and the goal was for 2026 being world champion. But as I know, with 3DI, at this moment, it was not possible. So I was writing this concept, where can we get some new designs? And we were able basically to buy some designs from Alex Udin, the former owner of Phantom. This is how all the projects started. It is not because I do not believe in 3DI now. Was just a strategic decision to have the possibility to be world champion in 2026. This is why we make it. And basically, we took over these assets from Alex, and we start developing them with Pierre and with Amado for now 2.5 months. Means basically from scratch, we were developing and adding things out of the North Technology Group into the existing, let's say, Phantom cells. Yeah. And we are having a product which the base is basically from Phantom, but all the insides, it means new battens, it means new material in the top, new material in the sleeve, new material in the bottom, which no one else has on the market, new batten tensioner, and a complete new leech construction. It means we were really developing those cells together with Alex, because Alex is also working with us now. And we are having right now, in my opinion, a very, very good product. But this does not mean that we are not trusting on 3DI. If you are looking, for example, on the development cycle of racing cells, when we are looking at the Pride cell, it was basically developed for the last 15, 18, 20 years, the RS racing series. And Peter Beal and his team was basically working for 5 years now on the 3DI technology, and it's just not enough time. So what we're doing now is Prisma Pro, put them on the race course, and meanwhile we are start working on the 3DI racing cells to bring them as soon as possible on the market. So the message is, yes, we're having conventional sales right now. It was a strategic decision, but we will definitely work on 3DI cells, because we are 100% sure that basically when we're having the time for the development, we will be able to make a better racing cell than everyone else on the market.
Just to clarify, when did you start with North? What year?
I started at the beginning of this year officially, but I was already working a little bit before.
Oh, I see. Okay, because I've been following the journey of North from the outside looking in a bit, and obviously it seemed to me that when North came back, it was all three, like every sale was 3DI, right? That's correct in saying, right? So obviously right now, yeah?
Yes, right now, except of the Prisma racing cell, every sale is 3DI. But to be honest, also to have, let's say, more price point sales, we are working also on hybrid sales right now. It means half 3DI, where basically the load patterns and the most important thing is of the cell will be still 3DI, but we will apply this basically also with monofilm components, which means we will be pricely much more competitive, because right now we are a premium brand. And with this, the goal is basically to enter new markets, not just, let's say, high price, but also some price point products.
Okay. And when should we expect that range of sales to launch? What sort of time frame?
Spring, summer 27. So we are basically in another timeline than everyone else on the market. It is that Duotone and Pride and so on are always bringing out, for example, the 2027 sale. They're bringing them out in August, September, October, something like this. We are bringing our 2027 sales in April 27. So
what? What? It's like, oh my God, a sale which is 27 in 27. No, it's funny because when you're involved in windsurfing, that timeline got earlier and earlier every year. And it was like, at some point, it was like June or May and April. You're like, hang on a minute. It gets confusing. I've always said, who's going to reset first? Who's going to bring out 27 sail or 28 sail in the same year. So I see
we are.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we are keeping
that's obviously, well, if we just look at what we've seen so far, Pierre Mortefon, who was your, headline signer, won the French nationals, I think, in his first event, the foil and the fin, and then kicked off the IFCA Worlds. Is this going to count as a world title for you? I mean, it is a world title, IFCA. Everyone's there. Would this be gold ticked? If he's world champion here, are you like, I'm the man?
Yes. It is an official world title, and to be honest, if you are looking on the starter on the starter field, there's basically no one. It's Matteo, it's Maciek, it's Amado. It's basically everyone is there, and it's a fight. I saw some videos and pictures, so it's really fired. It's really super cool to see.
It's exciting because this year we've got less racing events, so now the sort of, it feels like say IFCA, where I was talking with Geordie obviously earlier this week, and we were talking about IFCA, and usually, okay, a few people turn up. It's always hard to win it. It's never easy to win the IFCA Worlds, but it's never the full field. Whereas this year, because all the events are at the end of the year and there's a few, everyone's there. So
right now there are 162 competitors. It's unbelievable what's going on there.
Yeah, that's cool. Although I have to say, looking on the website, I think they need to sort that out, because I was trying to find results earlier. I was just like, what the hell's going on? But I have found it. So for people who haven't seen the results, I'm going to try and update it. It wouldn't let me before. Oh, there we go. So
that's good, actually, because I'm on the website myself and I can't. It just doesn't load up.
It's impossible. I'll try and share the screen, but maybe I'm being an idiot. But I couldn't find out how to get the results on the big screen. It's like on a side panel. So at the moment, just so people who don't know, Pierre Mortefon is winning with a first and a third. We've got Matteo Iachino in second place with 2 second places. He's obviously signed over to Neil Pride this year, which is really interesting. And then we've got Amado Vrieswijk after he didn't have his best first final with the 9th, but came back with a win in the second, and that's put him up into 3rd place. Benoit Mercer 4th, Jordi Vonk in 5th, Noah Winter 6th, William Hooper 7th, Cedric Board 8th, Nico Preen in 9th, and Alexis Mattis in 10th. So just to give you a bit of an idea, just for context, when we talk.
And where's Maciek?
Yeah, he had a 10th in the first one. Hang on, let me go back. 10th in the first one. And then he had a 23rd in the second one. He's in 14th place.
Okay. Yeah, but it's a strong fleet. And on the one hand, it's really nice to see it because, for example, in the PWA, when there are just such a few riders, it's always the same guys in the final. But if they really go through several rounds, there can also happen some mistakes. And I think it's really nice that they are not just always like in the final, like that it's normal.
Yeah, no, I think it's super good. And also it's fin and foil. The forecast apparently isn't great. So it does look like it's going to be probably mostly foil. If they're lucky, you never know. I haven't actually looked at the forecast, but when I looked at it with Geordie, it was like, oh, God. And he was a bit worried he hadn't been on the foil all winter. He's in 5th place. So it's like, he's pretty solid, Geordie.
Yeah, super cool.
So what's the sail the North Sail is using? Are they using the new Prisma or the 3DR?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Right now are the Prisma sails. So we are not just having big names, we are also having several new guys in our national team, some Dutchies, Germans, and so on. So this is basically what we are focusing on. As Norse is original a racing brand. Everyone knows Norse Technology Group has big sails, yacht sails, and so on. And this is also the image I want to start pushing. And this is also why we are basically being present, not just at World Championships and PWA races, but also basically in national races, to just build up racing brand equity, because this is basically, I think, in my opinion, the nature of Norse, which does not mean that we are not focusing, but Norse is a racing brand.
Yeah, you need to win, don't you? Let's be honest. Like, and it sounds daft because it's not that simple as winning. But if you want people to buy your racing sails, they need to be winning. That's what, Pride have proved that over the years. Anyone who has those winning sales, that's when you're making the money. That's when the normal people are going out, not just the racers who are getting deals and stuff. You want the normal guys. And as soon as you establish yourself as one of the fastest sails on the market, that obviously trickles down into the free ride and all that stuff, which, I mean, North doesn't have a problem with brand image, but I've got to say, the 3DI stuff, everyone was super excited,
Mhm.
but, and you know, people can downplay the World Cup, downplay this, but essentially, if you haven't got someone doing it and proving it, you can say what you want. It has to be proven. So it is interesting that you guys, as far as I know, like I said, I read all the forums and speak to people. So you basically, or you, North Sales, bought Phantom and basically have kept the sale designer, which is Alex, and he is now working for North. And that's how this sale is. So is this sale now an adapted Phantom sale, or it's just the Phantom sale rebranded and then you're going to adjust it? Or how is that? Because there's not much time.
No. Actually, we did not buy the brand Phantom. We did assets out of Phantom. We are not owning the brand. We are not owning the name. We are not owning wing stuff. We are just owning something out of Phantom. And to basically push the improvement or development, we made an agreement with Alex, the former owner, that he's basically helping us developing those sales, because he's, in my opinion, he's a genius, what he's doing. You saw it basically back in the days when he was winning PWA events after events with Nicolas Goyard and so on. And also Pierre Mortefon was on those sales last year. And we started developing those sales. The cool thing is, at North Sales, we are having a very big portfolio of materials, much bigger than everyone else on the market. So what we basically did, we improved that sale with quite some high-end materials. And we were basically a lot of know-how from Alex developing back in the days, and he knows what works, what not worked, what did not work, material, and we achieved that basically the sales were much lighter than before. They were more reactive than before. And because the more reactiveness, we also had a better acceleration in those sales. And basically, when we started developing in January, we only had 4 to 5 weeks. We were putting a lot of prototypes with different materials everywhere. So this is also why a lot of pictures the people have seen was gray and blue. And so like a Phantom back in the days and so on. They said, "Oh, it looks shit. We don't want this. It's just a copy." It's really not a copy. We really put a lot of let's say, cool materials inside. And yes, the base is basically a Phantom set, but what we are having now is far more, and that's quite cool.
Well, what is interesting is, you know, Alex and Phantom, for me, came from nowhere as well. They you know, there's not many sail brands. I mean, maybe Patrick, you know, someone who's never really done sales and he got into it and he's done well. But when Phantom came on, I was thinking, who the hell are these guys? Where's he? But his background is in sailing as well, isn't it? Catamarans, or is that the same? Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, but he's really genius, and he has an unbelievable overview about materials, about know-how, about what he wants to achieve with the way he's acting. So he's really good in what he's doing. Basically, back in the days, I was working with several other sail designers, and I can tell you this guy is by far the best I've ever worked with.
Okay, interesting. I mean, so, proofs in the results at the moment.
So how's it going to work? Because obviously, well, Pierre's using the Prisma, which is more the traditional style sail. You've got the 3DI sails, which are your sort of premium, but he's winning on the Prisma. So where does that leave the 3DI when it comes to the competition? How's that going to work?
Right now, the 3DI sales is basically the Prisma sales is basically just a sale for guys who are in some kind of a national team. It's not really a complete commercial public sale. To be honest, if we are looking for the other brands, it's also not possible always to buy a Pride sail or a Duotone or so on, because there's just no stock of this. We are having basically the same problem. We are starting this project right now. So this is basically the base and the sale the guys will use this year. But in the meantime, right now, we are already developing 3DI sails. So we believe that in the near future, we will be able to have a 3DI sail, which is definitely better. Because 3DI has really some key points which conventional sails do not have. The problem is it really needs time. Development is a time-consuming thing, especially on 3DI. Because it's not going to a factory and we are getting out in 2 weeks several prototypes and then start working on it. Just to give you an idea what's going on, for example, if we are ordering the sails, it takes about 7 months until we are having them in Holland. And that a huge time to really start developing some new stuff. So we need to have more time, and this is why we're putting out this program.
Now, why is there 7 months? Why does it take that long?
Because basically our sails are produced in multiple factories. Usually when you are a conventional sail, you're going to a factory, say, okay, we're having all this stuff, please put this together. They're putting this together, put some of the prints on, and then we're sending it over. But because the Prisma sails are molded sails, which means they are lighter, they are stronger, basically they are also having a bigger wind range. But basically these are produced in a factory of North sails. To finish up those sails, they will get sent to a normal factory where basically they're putting all the pulleys, they are making the logos, blah, 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 all this stuff. And after that, they are getting sent over to Europe. And these several parts and points is just taking a lot of time because basically factory which is specialized for big yacht sails. And when we are coming and say, hey, we also want to have 3 prototypes. It's not that we are also always getting this spot, you know, it takes a lot of time.
So the conventional Prisma sail that's being used, it's not available to the public for the short term. That's correct, is it? It's just, it's more like prototypes.
No. It's a complete, let's say, serial sail. We were producing more than 100 in total. So we basically fulfilled all the regulations to be part in the in the timeline and so on, so everything is fine, and we will bring this sail out commercially in October for 2027. Yes, we are also 3 months before, but we'll bring the timeline where everyone else is bringing that out, because right now we will not be able to deliver a 3DI sail for 2027.
Okay, interesting. And is there any future? Oh, actually, well, before I go on, there's a couple of questions here we could from some of the people. Chris Cladden's asked, could you ask about the cams being used? Will we see the air cam on the PWA sails? Super interesting to see how they compare. Or are they the old Phantom sails being used? Working well for Mortefon.
Right now on the Prisma sails, we are basically having, let's say, camber, which was basically used also before by Phantom. So there's no air cam system inside, because that would mean that we would basically change the complete construction. This is a complete development, something which you cannot just do in 2 or 3 or 4 months. That probably is changing the sail from scratch. Because as everyone knows, a camber is not giving the profile. It is also stiffen up the sails, lighten up the sails, changing the whole profile. So this is something we could not basically implement right now in our prototypes with the 3DI sail. There is still the air cam inside.
Okay, yeah. And just on the point you made before, sorry for my ignorance on this, but in PWA, you got to use like production sails. In the IFCA scene, is it the same? Is it? It has to be a production style sail, or do you know Ben or Vince?
I think they can use prototypes in IFCA.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's all a bit different, isn't it, with the IFCA stuff?
Yeah. And then we've got another question here from Nick. What about speed and Luderitz as the ultimate proof for sail performance? Any plans for the speed stuff, Luderitz?
Yes, as we were quite busy, we were also bringing some, let's say, speed guys on our sails. It means Gunnar will use our sails, Asmussen, but not sure if Luderitz is going to happen this year. Just to point this out.
Yeah, that'll be a shame, but
I'm not so sure. But Gunnar Asmussen, probably everyone knows him also from the speed scene, will start with our sails on the Prince of Speed now in France. So he will hopefully prove that our sails are fast. And also in the Prince of Speed, we are having the Speed World Championship in foiling. And there's also one guy, I cannot tell his name because the final contract is not made, but he is basically the fastest foiler on earth. Everyone knows him, is also from France. So he will also use our sails.
So
okay.
was he on Phantom before?
Ooh.
So, I mean, obviously there will be a few crossovers because Alex has obviously worked with other people as well. So I guess it's like when a football manager or someone moves, you know, they sometimes take people with them, I guess. So there
Yeah,
should be.
it just makes sense because he knows the guys, he knows if they are good in testing and working
Yeah.
and if they have a good knowledge about everything. And to be honest, he was working for several decades, I think, was Alex already, and also Pierre was working with him. So it makes it very easy and also very efficient, all these testing. And this is especially now when we are not having so much time, I think a very important point. This is also why we chose those riders.
It was
Yeah.
interesting. I did hear rumors at the end of last year. It was like North Windsurfing was almost deciding whether they basically carried on. You know, these were just rumors. I don't know what they were based on. I don't know who they were from. But I remember thinking, oh God, that's it. And it kind of added up with you not having the PWA races. And then, you know, fast forward, I don't know how many months we're on now. You've got guys that are at the top. You've got the top rider. You've got this. You know, it feels like a massive shift. So you've got to be pretty happy with the way it's going.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Actually, Norse was always targeting just, let's say, the peak of the product. They always wanted to have the best, the premium product. Also, to be fair, the most expensive products. And basically, the strategy right now is also to provide not only these products. So our plan is also to go, let's say, in the more general price point products, which we will basically present in spring, summer 27, because to make a brand financially successful in this time of the windsurfing industry, it's very difficult just to have those products at the peak. So this is where we are busy working on right now.
So in theory, the Prisma project, which is a conventional sale, let's say, I know you've got all the new materials and everything, but that probably will trickle down to the kind of free racy, normal cab. Is that what we're going to see?
No, we will not see a conventional sale at all the other ranges, because we are able to bring something which is just better than all the other things on the market with 3DI. 3DI had so much advantages compared to other stuff. What we are working right now is a sale. I mentioned this before. It's some kind of hybrid cell, which means the front completely with 3DI. The rest is basically a flat pattern of normal monofilm, which makes it quite attractive in production, but still delivers all the good aspects of the 3DI cells. Because what the most people do not know is, for example, the molded sail is bringing much more stability in the sail. Our sail are completely, or compared to other sails, completely how's this called? Sometimes I'm still missing the English words because I'm German. Sometimes when you're using a sail, you have to have the right mast always inside.
Yes.
For us, because the sail is making much more work than the conventional sails, you could even put a pride mast, a duotone mast, gun mast in all our sails, because the technology we are putting is taking over more work than on a conventional sail. And this is something we really want to and have still in all the other brands and in all the other sails we are producing right now.
So do they need more downhaul, less downhaul, or is these similar tensions?
Because we are having basically a profile and a material which is loading much more and which is basically taking over much more work. You could use our sails with the same stability with less downhaul and with more. So our sails in 3DI are just having a bigger range than other sails on the market.
So a bigger range in terms of it's easier to rig. So it's not as specific to the exact tension, or you mean just bigger in terms of wind range?
I mean both, in terms of wind range and in terms of basically the downhole you have to give.
Interesting. Interesting.
Does that make sense? Sometimes it's hard
for
me to explain.
But I kind of understand what you're saying. But like I was just trying to think of why that would be. But it kind of makes sense. Like I said, one of the biggest things that I see on clinics, just talking to normal people down the beach, is people like you guys design these amazing things. You know, some of them are like some of the best things you ever see. And the guy turns up at the beach, he's got everything. You're like, oh my God, this guy, he's got everything. And then he rigs it like a pile of shit. And you're like, it don't matter how good it is. Like if you don't rig it well, and I kind of often use this sort of analogy of golf. You could turn up with all the right clubs, but if they're not set for you or you've not been fitted, and then I kind of like go down the other loop, which I know there's not enough money in windsurfing for this, but you almost need to go to a fitting where you get taught how exactly they should rig, why they should rig, because I think this is one of the biggest things. So then, you know, it gets you thinking for a brand, if they have a sail which has a wider range of, for want of a better word, fuck up ability, you know, where you can actually be a little bit off where you're rigging it, but it still works the same or produces the same performance. This is a big hit because like some sails I've had in the past, they have been amazing. And I mean amazing, but you had to be very precise and know the feel you exactly needed. And this doesn't just, I'm not talking about your normal guy who hasn't got a clue. I'm talking about good windsurfers. Still, I see sails rigged questionably, let's say. Me as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. From my perspective, right now, we are in a quite difficult position in the windsurfing market. Because every brand is always pushing like premium products. They are having a lighter sail, more responsive sail. But what is basically missing right now is the equipment for the people who just came out of school, who had 5 hours of windsurfing and say, wow, fuck, it's cool, I like it. But what is the question, or what is the answer when they say, okay, I'm going in the shop, I want to have something which is about 1,500 euros, 2,000 euros. I want to have a complete set. Let's go, bring it to me. I can tell you it's very difficult to bring out these informations. But this is basically one of the key points we have to work from the industry to make this happen and to still, let's say, keep windsurfing alive. And these answers right now are not bringing out from no company. And this is basically one of our goals. We want to bring a whole complete, let's say, whole complete range of equipment from absolutely high performance products, but also from, let's say, absolute beginner products to advanced windsurfers.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
What's yeah, sorry, go on.
But if I would ask you, Ben, what would you suggest for a guy who just came out of a windsurfing school and wants to start windsurfing?
It's very true, and I've often said that when you actually look at some of the things and like barriers to entry, because I was thinking actually of making a video more recently because I'm living in Sagres. We've got surf. We don't have it windy all the time. So I'm trying to improve my surfing. And it gives me a really good indication of what windsurfers are going through because I'm at a relatively high level. I've done all the training. I've done all the years. I've done all this. And I kind of, sometimes it's very hard for me to put myself back in that position of a intermediate come beginner. But in surfing, I am that guy. So I look at my buying habits of why I want to buy a surfboard, what influences me to buy a surfboard, what motivates me to go surfing, what, you know, all these things are really interesting when you go back to that level. More interesting than when you're really good, actually, because it's way more exciting because you see this like massive like learning curve ahead of you and everything's super exciting. Whereas when you're nearer the top, everything is really small details. So it's interesting. But again, what I'm going through when we were just looking at to do on the website is trying to give some sort of information that you put in your details. And then you have this kind of kit kind of selector, which is the same in surfing. You put in your body weight, you kind of rate your skill, what you conditions, and then it kind of says, okay, this volume board or this type of, and I think we lack that in windsurfing. Exactly like you said, like, what would I say? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what volume because I never do it. I'm not working in a shop. I'm not advising these people. So my brain literally goes, try this, try this.
Yeah, it's a good point, Benny. It's a very good point. Yeah, I've noticed that when I teach people down here, especially when they're in that intermediate stage and they're like, what size board should I get? I'm like, I don't know, about 120, 30 liters. You know, and then you start thinking, is this correct? Or I don't even... I don't know. It's been a while since I've had to use that sort of thing. So
it almost needs some sort of roll around. Like I did it when winging first came out. I don't really winged for a few years now, but when it first came out, it's like you needed this big board to learn. But you probably, if you're a windsurfer, you only needed it for a couple of weeks if you had wind, and then you didn't need it. So to go and buy it kind of made no sense. But we had this kind of community board, which it was like, oh, you want to learn to wing? I'll take that. And it kind of needs this kind of circle. But again, people need to understand it. Like normal windsurfers, I think the biggest problem we've got, and we've talked about it a while ago now, but when windsurfing first came out, if we were windsurfers, we had a board and a sail that you could actually learn on because nothing had progressed. And it was the same with winging. When winging first came out, everyone who had the winging gear, you could learn on because that was the level everyone was at. So it was so easy to get friends in because you had the gear. But when you get better and your friend goes, oh, you want to take me windsurfing kind of thing? You're like, and you're looking in the van. I've got a van full of gear. And I'm looking in the van. I'm like, I have nothing that you could go on. So that was when I thought, you know, inflatable SUP was quite a good idea if it had a basin, because at least you could get someone floating and you know, at least being able to get the experience. But I think this is the biggest negative about windsurfing. We don't have boards in our vans, whereas if someone asks, we can go. If you've got a bike or a spare bike, and you can ride a bike, you know, it doesn't matter. Surfboard, again, surfing's a simpler thing. If you're a good surfer, you probably haven't got a surfboard someone can use, but it's cheap. Whereas windsurfing, you need the whole package. So yeah, I think it's a valid point.
These are basically the things we work on from the industry side on to bring out these informations. It's not always about high end. It's not about the waveboard which turns better, the sail which is lighter. It's absolutely not interesting for, let's say, the people who are coming into our sport. And I think this is basically the biggest task I'm facing now, to basically address those people also.
Yeah, that's cool. And what is that looking like? Or is it like a secret mission going on? Like where do you see, where's the missing link? Because we've heard about it a lot in windsurfing. Again, you could argue people wanting more people, like, because the biggest thing in windsurfing is how do we get more windsurfers? And then when you're a wave sailor and you're at these wave spots and there's a few people like, oh, I don't know if I want more waves. But in terms of the sports, the brands, the interest, the lakes, they can handle a lot more people. But as far as I understand it from speaking to holiday people, you know, schools, they have a lot of people through the door, but converting them from a little holiday sort of fling into a full-blown relationship with windsurfing seems to be, we're more like a holiday romance windsurfing. You know, we're like, we're just a quick fling on the beach and then we're, you know, whatever, we're left. So that's the conversion you're looking for, I guess.
Yeah, we are working on several things. The question is, do we have answers for all the questions the people have? And right now we are not having them. The people in the shops are not having them. We as professionals, you as basically people who are completely in the windsurfing scene, we are not having these answers. And everyone has to have the answers. And basically it starts with providing products which are affordable, and basically also with product which you could also give to other hands. So it's not having a high-end product, using it for 1 year, then it's broken, we put it on the side and we try to buy a new one. No, there has to be a circle in basically these equipment. And if the people know, for example, we're having a sail which is perfectly for people to start, we're having a board in this size and this is perfect for your body weight, it makes it more easy basically to get also these people and to keep those people in our windsurfing circle. So right, we're working on several products which will hopefully help us to address those people.
What about coming up with like a catamaran, a trimaran, where you add two, you add 3 boards? That could be that's the winner. Yeah. You add 3 boards together. Okay, no, that's cool. Yeah. That's interesting.
Just taking a step back, so because I've had a brief look at the North Sails website. I'll bring it up here because it's hopefully you can see it. But obviously the North brand is very much synonymous with the big yachts, the high-end racing, and just everyday sailing. And obviously windsurfing is a branch off that. So what is the people at the top of this whole company, what's their end goal with windsurfing? Are they seeing it as just a bit of a little, I say little because compared to their yachting, obviously windsurfing is much smaller, but are they just kind of seeing it as just something they just want to get involved in because it's a good brand exercise? Or like what is the motivation behind North Sails to really put more energy back into windsurfing again, when realistically the big money is in yachting? Yeah, is that a fair question?
Yeah, that is a super fair question.
Yeah.
It is clear that North Sails has one approach. They want to be the best in every sport on the water, in every discipline on the water. You're looking on the Olympic circle, basically all Olympic boat class are having North Sails equipment. Basically all the masts in the high performance yacht sailing is produced by North Sails. If we are looking at all the other categories from the North Action Sports Group, means winging, kiting, we are at the top. Maybe we are not at the very top right now, but we are gaining to this. And the same goal they're gonna have with windsurfing. What we should not forget, the guys who are having and owning those big yachts, they're about 50, 60, 65. And I tell you, back in the days, they were windsurfer. So for basically all the management, windsurfing is quite a big thing. If you ask them some, let's say, fun sport, no one will say, hey, winging. Everyone is saying, fuck yeah, windsurfing, cool. And if you tell them, hey, we're having a windsurfing world champion on North Sails, they will be super happy. And this is building brand equity. And this is basically what we are trying to achieve. We are 100% sure that the windsurfing market is limited. Yes, does not mean you cannot earn money with this, but it is definitely limited. But the goal right now is to build brand equity and to show to all the other guys that North Sails is capable for every discipline on the water to be and to deliver basically the top products.
Okay.
Yes, I was speaking actually. I think last year or year before doing the commentary, where you kind of think like windsurfing. We always try and be like, well, I think we're like the nerdy version of surfing, whereas actually we could be the cool version of yachting. You know, like I feel like we've gone the wrong way. Like we should be like the cool sort of cousin to yachting, where, you know, maybe the foil racing and stuff should be an add-on to some of these big yachting events, because putting it in front of that audience with that money, and, you know, people like you guys, the North Sails, can do something like this. You know, if you guys are a big player and you guys are helping get us into that audience, I think this is a much bigger audience than us trying to be the cool surfers. I feel like the cool yachters, I don't know, I just think it's maybe a better angle.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Actually, now you're on the North website. This is particularly not basically the North website I am responsible for, because this is North International. And as the new initiative means One North, so everything from every category, from everything which is North, is on that website. Our normal website is the North Action Sports Group website, which was basically the second button. And there, basically, it's also looking a little bit cooler for all the products we are having, and it's also much more up to date.
Okay, yeah. So this one here, right? This is the correct one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can't seem to click on the windsurf for some reason.
Where
are kiting.
Go to North. Go to the North logo once.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now there you are.
There we go.
The light
is okay.
By far.
Yeah, no. Well, I have. I've spoken to a few people that use North Sails, and usually when I speak to them, they're very enthusiastic by the sails, especially that feeling of lightness. That is definitely something that I've noticed. Yeah.
Yes. The thing is, people are putting the sails on the scale, and then they see, okay, they're 100, 150 grams lighter. But what the people make basically do not know if we would cut it in the middle, because our construction is so super light. We are having no seatings at the end and so on. We are about 30 to 40% lighter than our competitors on the leech. This is where basically the light feeling of the sails is mostly coming from. The swing rate, the swing area is basically just way less than at all, let's say, all conventional sails. It's cool.
Yeah.
Super.
It is interesting. More recently, I've seen lots of people weighing sails. It seems to be like the thing. Whereas actually, I know from windsurfing for years, yeah, okay, it does make a difference. It can't be super, super heavy, but the feel of a sail, for me, that's what it's about. I mean, you can have a very light sail, but if it holds the power, or it doesn't, like you say, if it's got a lot of weight on the leech, then this whole thing becomes totally different. So weighing it is very, for me, this probably the smallest indicator of how light.
Yes.
Well, not the smallest, but it's one of. It's not the biggest, I don't think.
Yeah,
it's pretty.
Yeah,
mad,
you are 100% right. And also, if the sail, for example, is super light, but if it's too soft, it also feels quite heavy. You know, always soft sail feeling quite heavy. So you need to have some kind of a responsive sail to also have the light feeling. Yeah, it's true.
So I've got to ask this. I know we're talking about sales now, but just listening to what you said, you might be signing a different guy. And we're talking about Phantom. Phantom obviously did boards as well. Is this in the cards? Are you? I mean, is that there?
Yes, it is there.
It is there.
It is there as a complete range. We are coming with spring summer 27.
Okay.
But it will mainly be to also provide our centers. Right now we are having, we will get, at the end of the year, we'll get, I think, 10 Club North. And it just makes sense when we are basically having this windsurfing station with our sails also to have our boards inside and not to get them from someone else. So right now we are working on it. But we are not working on high performance fin products. So it will be just general products. And we are working with Peter Thomas together.
I was going to say, where are we? Yeah, okay, interesting. Any factories? Where are we looking at? Not that many people know about factories, but have you got your own factory? North have probably got their own one, haven't they?
No. We are, let's say, in a normal factory.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of rumor already around because I don't know. I think someone shared some pictures and so on, and we are busy working.
I mean, it makes sense. You can put the bits together. It's not like
yes. And what you should not forget, as we are having all the sales force from North Sylt with all the agents, distributors, and so on. For us, it will be, and as you can see in the whole windsurfing world, it is very hard for a brand just to focus on sales or on boards. You can just look at Simmer. Back in the days, it was just sales. Now they are also having boards to provide whole packages to riders, to shops, and so on. Same with Patrick. Back in the days, just boards. Now also sales. JP, Neil Pride, Taboo, Gastra. It is basically right now at the time impossible to be successful with just either the sale or.
Yeah, you got to be the complete package. You were on Simmer back in the day, weren't you? What year was that?
Yeah, it was Thomas Person. It was in 2001 to 2004.
Okay, I asked AI earlier. It didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
It was like, I think 2010. I'm like, there's no way it was 2010. I was like,
it was not
argue with it. I was trying to do some research because that was like almost not before the internet, but before kind of most of the stuff was coming out and is kind of logged. So it's quite interesting.
And I'm having such a good Thomas Person, you cannot believe. Back in the days, it was Formula, which I was basically focusing on, and we had an event in Portugal, and I didn't have the money to go there, and then basically Thomas sponsored me this trip, and it was super nice. And he was even coming to Fehmarn, to the surf festival, to meet up with me, so that we were looking on the sales. And I was a young kid, and it was absolutely amazing. It's such a cool guy.
Thomas is a legend, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's almost too nice for the business, though. He's just such a nice guy. He's like helping everyone. Oh yeah, you want to learn? I'll tell you this. He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
What do you see is the few, like the next, say, 5-10 years, whatever, in the whole windsurf market scene? Because obviously, if we've if you've been around windsurfing long enough, we've seen that it's gone through this massive boom, the 70s, 80s, and then it sort of tapered off. And now we're at a position where, well, we all know where windsurfing is right now. So what do you see as the potential for the windsurfing world market moving forward? I mean, is that something that's talked about much within, your offices?
For sure. And we are also basically looking on the market size, looking on the decreasing market size, and we are aware basically of where the train is going, and we are aware of what winging is right now doing and what kiting is doing, and if there's maybe another water sport. It is clear for me that windsurfing will always be where it is, so it will not disappear. A lot of people say, oh, in 5-10 years, but they also told it for 5-10 years ago. Windsurfing, this for sure will never happen. And we will still have a big windsurfing scene, I tell you, in 5 to 10 years. This is not the problem. What we really have to take care is to simplify basically the windsurfing sport. And this is the message we have to bring out. The message is not you need 24/7 to be a fun windsurfer. The message is if you want to go wave sailing, you need 3 sails and maybe 2 boards. And with this, you'll be happy in your whole life. And the same with as freeride right now is 52% of the whole market. This is something you really have to focus on. The message must be simplifying things, using, let's say, standard equipment, using price point equipment, using equipment which lasts long, and basically helping the people to enjoy the sport much more than what they are doing. Basically, the message for me is when someone is asking, hey, I'm a free rider, what do we need? You need 2 sails. Get a 6.0 and get a 7.5, and with this, ideally, you just need 1 mast for this. Ideally, you just need 1 boom for this. And with this, you can have fun. And if you need something, yes, it's possible, but we just have to simplify the things. And in my opinion right now, also what a lot of influencers are doing was talking a lot about equipment and so on. Yes, there is a lot to talk about, but we also have to simplify the things to make it for the people. Because if we make our sport even more difficult, what we just did with the, let's say, fucking foil, we just made it way too complicated. And with these foil stuff, which were just coming up, we were losing so many people who were enthusiastic, buying another foil, broken the foil. I can remember like 6-7 years ago when it was implemented in our German racing tour, they told me you just need a 7.8 and you can even use your big slalom board and then you're fine. And what the fuck? If I look from my trailer from last, I was buying a trailer. Then from last year, I had 5 foil sails, some double, and a full foil for 6,000 euros. It's ridiculous what's going on. And this is something we have to bring out: simplicity. We have to have simplicity. And if we are basically able to bring out these informations, then we'll be successful in the sport. Because people like the connection to the water. They don't like the winging. A lot of people don't like the winging all the time on their knees. A lot of people don't like the kite. In Germany, we're having a lot of places where kiting is forbidden. So these guys are basically our windsurfing base, and we have to target them with good answers, with good equipment, which is not falling apart, and with easiness.
No, I think all the brands need to come together and be very clear on that bottom level. Like whatever you do above that, fine. But there's this mid to bottom level. Everyone needs to be singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak, where you've got this certain easiness. And I totally agree with the winging. The winging is great. It's the buzz thing at the moment. Yes, some people are enjoying it, but there is definitely a ceiling when it gets friggin' boring, because at one point foiling feels, I don't know, I guess I know I'm the one who always disappointed. Foiling's got its place. 100% it's got its place. But don't think it's the be all and end all. There is nothing better than a board skimming across the water. That feeling is just so different to a foil. A foil feels the same. Like whatever the water's doing, the foil feels very the same. And that's what, for me, I never really found the love for. Like I've done it. I think it's enjoyable. I get why people do it, but it's not the same as fin sailing on the fin, and it's a huge difference. To me. Huge difference.
Yeah. So you're obviously quite positive about the future, because there is a little bit of doom and gloom around, but and Ben and I often talk about it in windsurfing. I mean, Ben and I are both very enthusiastic windsurfers, and I'm sure we'll do it till, so as old as we can. I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there like us too. But I guess the thing that we often talk about is, the new generation, getting the new, younger people into it, or, how do you get people into the sport? I mean, that's obviously, you just need to give them an experience. If they can just experience at least being able to sail and maybe even do a tack and come back to the beach. And once they have that experience, a lot of them go, oh, this is cool. I might try and get into this. It's just getting them, just letting them have the opportunity to have that experience. That's
Yes.
Yeah,
100%. And what we also have to bring out, it can be also a successful windsurfing day when you were not planing. When you were
100%.
trying to make a helicopter tag or whatever, or just crossing to another whatever island on a lake and have a backpack with a beer, drink a beer and going back. This can be also windsurfing. Windsurfing is not just windsurfing is not planing. Windsurfing is not just foiling. It's not in big waves. Windsurfing can also be just, cruising around. For example, here we are having the original windsurfer at my place, and we're having some guys who are always out every day with those equipment and just, very kind of boring, but they're having so much fun. And this is also what we have to bring out to the people. Windsurfing.
Well, actually, it's a good point you make, Vincent. I actually strongly believe that until the windsurfing world embraces 5 to 10 knots, windsurfing will always struggle. Like, when I say struggle, I meant like it'll always be just the shortboardy, like you have to be planing. The industry and the sort of culture has to embrace the fact that there's not that encouraging 5 to 10 or 5 to 15 knots, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, if you can do that, you've just literally opened up the market hugely, because everywhere in the world has 5 to 15 knots, basically. Like, and also there's plenty of people out there. I think you tend to forget, because once you get into shortboards or waves or slalom, it's a little bit hardcore for a lot of people. They're like, oh, I don't really want to go that far, but they might want to just have a local, like, just fun around 10 knots with their friends, just pootling around in their local lake, like having a barbecue on the beach. That's maybe just the extent of where they want to go. They don't have that,
But that is what's been missing. I know when I grew up, like I grew up on a really long lake, well, long for England or Wales. It's like 4 miles long, but very thin. I used to love just pottering up, like you say, going up, stopping off, going for a drink somewhere, come back. And you can do that on a windsurfer, because you've got a retractable dagger board or a small fin. On a foil, it's a blooming nightmare.
No,
it's a nightmare.
Too high end.
And if we can get out those informations to the people, and if we are making not planing sexy again, and also giving it a spot in media and so on, we will be successful with this. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I do think though, like I think everything, and I kind of put this down to everything I think of that gets momentum. It is more this community feel. Like you see the places which are like doing well with windsurfing, and I'll say one of them, Browers Dam. Again, I've never been. I keep trying to. Anyway, it's a long story, but I'm meant to be going at some point, but I haven't organised it yet. But this looks like it's got such a hardcore scene. Every place that has got this scene where people go to the beach. Again, when I started to wave sail in Rosniger, which is North Wales, they had like the guy who owned the shop had like a hostel above it, and we would go every weekend. It didn't even matter the forecast. Like nowadays we've got such good forecasts and everything. Everyone looks okay. If I'm there at 1, I can leave at 2. But actually, what made it special where I used to go is we would just turn up for the social, and we'd go windsurfing, obviously, but it wouldn't matter what the wind was doing. We would just go. And this is the big thing, which I feel like when I grew up, it was all about sailing clubs. Now, people can laugh at sailing clubs or things, but this was amazing because you had this ready-made social scene, and it was the sailing club, the windsurfing or the sailing or whatever it was extra to it, but the scene was the sailing club. So you just went, and it became every weekend we would go to this sailing club. You look in France where they got windsurfing clubs. We had a sailing club because it was actually more for sailing than windsurfing. But these are like the hubs. And then as I moved into wave sailing, it went away from a club and it just went to the beach, and then it's a bit sort of spread out, and it's not so, it's not a hub, you know. So if you see all the places that do well with windsurfing, there is some sort of hub, whether it's a cafe, whether it's a windsurfing shop, whether it's a actual windsurfing club. And these are the places where you see things growing and getting bigger, because people bring people, and then this just multiplies. And I think this is
100%.
going back to it. And this is why I think windsurfing does well when people are on holiday, because they're at a hotel, there's people around, the windsurfing gear's there. So there's no kind of barrier to entry where they've got to get it on the roof of their car. They've got to get it to the beach. Like, I really think the big one is the gear on the beach. Like, my missus is a great example of someone who would probably love windsurfing, but she's not as dedicated enough to want the hassle of getting it to the beach and doing that. But if there was some sort of way she could turn up, put a wetsuit on, go windsurfing, come in, put the beach and fuck her off. This is the barrier that I think is the big one, which I know why most windsurfers I know are a sort of character where they've got this tenacity, they've got this extra drive, they've got this, you see them in business, you see them in everything. And I really think it's a windsurfing trait, because to be a windsurfer, there's a lot of stuff you're doing. There's a lot of stuff. Just getting to the beach, checking the forecast, you know, all that stuff is a certain character trait.
There might be an opportunity there, Vince, with North, since you're involved in North Sails and their network in the sailing world. There's probably a big opportunity to get involved in the whole sailing scene and pushing windsurfing through those channels, right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Don't give away. It's like, don't give it away.
well, I mean, look, if there's anyone, but I don't think the thing is, North Sails is uniquely placed to do that, because the other windsurf brands aren't so much in the sailing world, whereas North is. So that's
it's true.
It's almost yeah.
This is also why, for example, I see our future at North Windsurfing quite positive. And if I'm talking basically some of my colleagues from other brands, they are not like this. Maybe because I'm also a positive guy and I just started this project, but there's a lot of, let's say, negativism right now at, let's say, my colleagues. I'm not like this. I think it will.
I have a question just on Paul saying that. North is a massive brand. How is it, because you're a category manager, I mean, that just says it all, because it's so big. You've got a different category within a brand. How is it working in such a big company? Is it, have you got your own, like, can you make decisions, or do your decisions coming from bigger, higher up? How does that work? Are you pretty flexible?
It depends for sure on the decisions. Right now, what we are having compared to all the other brands right now, we are having a big background of, let's say, power behind us. It means we are having marketing, we are having operations, it means supply chain and so on. So there are a lot of people in our background which are supporting us. I think no other brand right now in this world has this power, what we are basically having. So if I want to have some things getting done, it will be made. But for sure, in terms of pricing, we are having the sales category. In terms of strategic decisions, we are having a boss. My boss right now is Clinton Fallon. Probably you know him from back in the days from Starboard and Severn. So he also has a windsurfing background. He has a lot of knowledge. But actually, we are aligning very good, because he also sees the way we are going is basically strategically the right way. So this is why everything is working good now. But if we are looking basically in the general power of the company, we can achieve everything we want. If we, and this is, and especially right now with the shareholders who are also motivated to grow, not just windsurfing, but also the whole North Action Sports Group with kiting and with winging, there can be a lot of momentum, and there can be made something very good, very big.
Yeah, no, it's cool, man. It's quite exciting. Like I said, it's interesting chatting to you, because I can feel the positivity, which is not always prevalent in the windsurfing brands.
And to be fair, I'm working closely together with Peter Beal. You guys also know him, and the work is very, very nice. And I'm really, when I started, I was really deeply surprised about his knowledge. It's unbelievable.
He is He's one of those guys that you say, is another one who's kind of underrated. He was a great racer back in the day, but he has done a lot of the stuff with development. I know he did his own battens and his own booms before he joined North, because he was super into all that sort of the detailed type of stuff. Yeah. And he was been working with Neil Pride in the past and lots of other stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know he's quite on it, and he's still obviously heavily involved with the development side.
For sure. Yeah. He's our product manager. So he's in charge of everything which gets basically produced or which gets tested. And I'm very thankful to have him also in the team. Because working with him right now is really very creative. Let's say like that. Very creative and very positive. It's very, very positive. So we done, and we are getting good stuff on the way. It's super cool right now.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting, Vincent. Yeah. I was just going to say, a few comments there, Benny. There's one here from Alden. I know we touched this briefly before, but just to be clear, it says here, question, Vincent, what are the 3DI racing sails currently lacking to be competitive, and where does the potential for a superior sail lie with this tech? I mean, you did sort of touch on this a bit before, but maybe you can answer this question.
Yes. It is a fact that basically the development of the 3DI now is 5 years. It's not more, it's 5 years. And basically with this technology, it's super, super difficult to have a completely competitive racing sail in 5 years. What the 3DI racing sails can do, it has the lightest feeling on the market, for sure. It's super durable. So you can use it for several years because the material is so strong. And these are very good characteristics for basically all free race windsurfers. But right now, it's not there where it should be for PWA racing. This is why we were deciding basically using the Prisma sails. But because we are having all these opportunities, possibilities in our whole company and in the Norse factories with all the technology, which is basically coming from the Norse Technology Group, it's just a matter of time that until we are coming with a 3DI racing sail.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think I touched on this. I can't remember what podcast it was, but I was kind of I think it was our news podcast where we were talking about the Prisma project, and I was saying it makes sense. You've got to bring this sail in. You've got to prove, you're such a big brand made North Sails. You've instantly got followers straight away. It's not like you've got to sell the project to someone, but you need to perform. So bringing this sail in, getting those riders on, buys you the time to do the development in the background on the 3DI stuff to get it to where it is. It does make sense. It does make sense, especially when you're going in and getting Alex, who has already got a proven race sail. Even just getting a designer doesn't make sense. Having something that's already proven itself, it's kind of like picking out all the bits, isn't it? It's really interesting, actually, seeing it all come together. Be interesting. Someone said, are Duotone nervous? Are these brands nervous? I bet they probably are. North Sails is such a big brand.
Everyone
like you say, with all the power behind. You've signed the best guys in the world. They're already winning. Okay, Matteo's not going to go anywhere. He's on some good kit as well, but you can see, it's going to, I think it makes it interesting for the windsurfing scene, the racing scene. Everyone ups their game, I like it when this kind of stuff happens. It's like Formula One. If everything stays the same, you start to, you lose those kind of storylines, whereas now the storylines are all shifting. And me as a commentator, I get like, it sort of makes it exciting.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned Formula One and listening to Vince talk about the IFCA, because he's like the Toto Wolff now, isn't he? You're like the manager that looks over the riders and sort of see how they go. It's interesting. It's actually kind of exciting for you, I imagine, because you develop all these products and then you get to see it on the racetrack, and it's probably quite fun. Aspect of the job.
There's a world champion in the comments.
Oh,
and he says, when will we see a freestyle sail?
Ooh,
Yentl in the comments.
Yentl, I can tell you, I think Amado already got prototypes.
Oh, 3DI.
Yes, all the other sails will be.
3DI. Okay, I know you've said that a few times, but we clear that up for anyone who's just tuning in. The only normal type sail, which could be a hybrid next year anyway, by the sounds of it, will be a 3DI, all the other sale. Okay. And then the only race sale is the normal. Okay.
Yes. Because we want to be a complete supplier for every category. It means we want to be racing, foiling, free ride, freestyle, wave, free wave. We want to have everything. So it really makes it also have a freestyle side. And as we are having Amado, we are also having a guy who's capable of helping us developing a good sail.
Yeah. Question: are you using the MDM mast in the Prismas?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Because this is interesting. I don't think still it's common knowledge about an MDM mast. MDM. Medium diameter mast, yes.
Medium.
So for people who don't know, because there'll be people out there going, what you want about, Ben? Well, RDM, reduced diameter, which is the skinny mast, which everyone knows. SDM, which is kind of the normal mast. And then has been over the last, I don't know how many years now, this MDM crept in. But it's not seemed to be marketed or talked about like ever. I never see it. I'm in the world, and it wasn't until I went to the Deafy Wind and Peter Beale was giving me the talk, and then you look back at some of the early foiling stuff, and a lot of people, the top guys, were using those slate masts, which was MDM.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Actually, the message was not brought out from the MDM mast yet. When I started, I had my own opinion about MDM, and I said we have to kill it. No, we have two diameters, RDM, SDM. But then I got in the technology, and as you were also talking to Peter, soon you're getting hooked with the technology, because we are basically the only brand which are having produced masts from Australia in the factory where they are making, for example, high performance products also for Olympic sailing. And with technology, our masts are basically made. We are having warranty cases of less than 1% for the racing mast. Usually it's about 10 to 15. So our masts are really, I would say, bulletproof. And we decided to stick to MDM mast, but every MDM mast we are sending out, we're going to send out with a adapter. It means it comes over an RDM extension. So you can use our MDM mast with a normal RDM extension. So you do not have RDM extension. We are trying to simplify things right now, but we will 100% stick to the MDM mast, because what we found out, for example, on the Prisma sail, it's the best working mast. On our 3DI freeride sail, it's working amazingly. So it's just a good product, and we just want to keep it.
So it's superior to an SDM. Is that for racing?
It is for racing, yes.
Okay, so where does the SDM fit into it all then? Is it redundant? SDM?
SDM is the standard diameter for basically all the racing sails, but we will stick basically to an MDM mast. But to be fair, it is not that this mast is out from another planet. It's a little thinner, It's way thicker than an RDM mast.
Yeah, but what I mean is, if the MDM is superior to the SDM, then the SDM will potentially become redundant. I mean, will the industry just move to an MDM and forget about the SDM, or no?
I don't think so, because it's some kind of a standard mast which every brand has right now on the market. I think SDM will still stay, but our message right now is to bring out that MDM masts are basically the better masts on the market, and basically more stable and stronger.
This is not a bad checklist. It was interesting, because I know when the first foil stuff came out, the boys, I think Kieran Badlow and these guys, I think it was it slate masts? I could be wrong.
Slate mast. Yes.
Slate masts, they were using these, and I kept seeing this sticker on the sails. I didn't even know what it was, and then they talk about MDM, and I was like, I've never even heard of it. So yeah, it's interesting, definitely interesting.
Okay, a comment here. I'm not sure you want to answer it. So Phantom became North. Can you give a bit of insight on the PDO and Phantom controversy that was going on? Is that resolved now? Yeah, because obviously at the time there was a bit of an issue. Phantom, PWA. What's any insights into that?
By Phantom, we just bought assets. I'm not involved in anything. All the problems Phantom or Alex or anyone else had with the people. I also don't want to be involved in this. So I cannot tell you how the situation there is right now, but I can tell you Phantom is not existing anymore.
Yeah.
So he shut down the complete business, as he's basically working for us now. So
yeah, cool. And then they'll say, would you like to talk about the wave sails because they improve a lot with added durability but stay light? So that's the other thing too. So obviously they're marketed as being lighter on the scales, but also in feel, but the durability is not compromised. Is that fair to say?
yeah, you can tell that back based on the first and second generation, there were quite some issues. This is also what basically is brought to me from the market and from dealers. But to be fair, since I worked or I'm working at North Sails, we basically had no warranty cases for any wave sails which are having the white colors. Back in the days, they were black. For 2 years now, they are white. So the white sails are bulletproof, and we just launched a new wave sail, also with
bulletproof.
Clip
him up. Clip him up.
I would say. No. I think they're quite strong. I think they are quite strong.
Yeah. Okay. Erasmus.
This is maybe where we should invite Peter Beal, because he is basically the man and the brain behind all the 3DI technology, and he could really explain everything, which layer is basically causing what. So this is really his topic, and he's 100% in this.
Yeah, what we'd have to have is we'd have to have a slow motion button, because that guy, every time I do a video with him, everyone's like, my God, Ben, he speaks faster than you. He's like, he's got so much information. He's like, I got to get it out. It's like, it's pretty, but he's
but
very,
it's not so
very
bad.
I'm joking. He's super knowledgeable, which is interesting. But yeah, exactly. We've been talking a lot about the racing, but I know that's because you're mostly been involved in that. That's kind of been your main thing, I guess, since joining, which is why I've been talking about
Yes. Basically, the waving program, which we just launched, was still initiated basically by Peter Beal and other guys who were involved. So this is more their project. But I think right now on our Instagram page, we're having quite some cool videos explaining some technology. So it also really makes sense to have a look there.
Yeah, well, actually, windsurfing.tv on the new website, we've just like, obviously you guys as a brand, you support the channel as well, but you're added to that. So I just noticed, because our timeline gets automatically updated when the YouTube, you guys put videos out, and I've just seen 4 videos just popped up in the last day from North Sails. So it looks like Peter Beal's been a bit busy with the videos.
Yeah.
How important do you think, well, social media / YouTube is in driving sales? Because Ben and I often talk about, Ben is obviously heavily involved in the social media aspect of his YouTube. I do it as a bit of a hobby thing, but we both often talk about that we feel that the brands underestimate the effects of things like YouTube and stuff like that. You know, what's North's or your opinion on all that? Do you have one?
Yes, I have one strong opinion. I can really see that influencer, I could call it, like people who are having a YouTube channel, Mario Kümpel, Nico Prien, and so on, they're having a big influence. And from my perspective, right now it's maybe hard for all the people working in magazines and so on, but I would rather invest more in those guys than having advertising in magazines. It does not mean that we can completely go out of magazines and so on. I really see it's like true, it's natural, it's actual content, and I think it's also nice to see what the guys are trying out, and when you can see basically the sail on the water. So I think social media and YouTube is basically the most important part for us to promote our brand, plus events. But events is always related to this, because if guys are basically making good results, it will show up immediately on Instagram, on YouTube and TikTok and so on.
Yeah, because I do feel like the industry underestimates the power of these videos. I say to Ben quite often that I'm sure it would be surprising to know how many people have bought Simo gear because Ben uses it. You know, like it's
for sure.
People, you know.
Well, okay, I think a better example, because he's just changed sponsors, is Mario Kumpel, really. Like, be honest, we're going to get Monty on, so it will be quite interesting. But I think the eyes that he's put on Loft in the last couple of months, I mean, considering what, you know, don't get me wrong, Loft sales are always good. Monty's a good sale designer. But Loft really, since they had that kind of really big spell on the PWA where Kestel and Ben van der Steen, you know, that was a long time ago, but they were really prominent. Like, they were getting the results and it kind of stood out. I would say this feels like the next bit. And maybe because I'm watching his videos, or at least seeing the thumbnails and seeing some stuff, you think he's putting eyes on the brand. And if you're doing I think if you're doing a good job as a brand, that's all you can ask for. You know, no one needs to sell it in a video. You just got to speak honestly, show the product, show what it does. And I think people will make their minds up. But just having eyes on it, like for you guys, having the guys at the top instantly starts to put eyes on North sales. I mean, it's obvious, but you know, but if you're finishing 6th, 7th, and this is the other thing, is there eyes on that? Because as a racer, it's hard to finish 6th or 7th or 5th, or, you know, it's not easy. It's like when you watch the Olympics, you know what it's like. You've got a Brit in 4th and you're like, oh, disaster. And you're like, and then you put yourself, as I was, about, you know, Olympics and trying to do this. If you finish 4th and lose, yes, it's hard, but if that was a good result for you, that's massive. But to the outside world looking in, it's like, oh, disappointing. Or a 3rd or a 2nd. Sometimes it's like a 2nd's like, oh, 2nd, you know, didn't win.
First loser.
Exactly. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
Yeah. No. But having those guys on board would also be something very cool for me. As, let's say, a brand, I think it really makes sense to have 1 or 2 of those guys. But I have one permission in this, or one things I would really like to have. I want to have good windsurfers. So there are some guys which are just talking, and I think this is not helping the brand. You need to have good windsurfers. If I would have Ben on board, yes, you know what you're talking about. There are also quite a lot of guys who does not know what they're talking about, and this is not cool.
Well, that's the thing. Is there a famous saying? Wasn't it Spider-Man? With great, what is it? Great. There's something about, with great power becomes great responsibility. And it's like, I see this in YouTube. There's some people that I'm not talking about windsurfing, but they get to a place where they've got so many followers, and, you know, I'm talking celebrities or whatever, and they can say one thing and it literally could be totally wrong, but it gets, or AI, you know, let's say AI spits out the wrong fact. Vincent Langer was on Simmer in 2010. I'm like, and it said it confidently. I'm like, that's totally wrong. You know, it's quite.
That's totally wrong.
It's quite interesting how AI. It's going to be worrying, because you start to take it as fact.
Yeah.
Some of it's not fact. It's interesting.
Just talking about influence and gear and the whole thing. Sailors, Rasmussen says all that speed and racing stuff depends so much on the rider. Racing is no proof that sail is the best. Pretty stupid to determine you're buying on that premise. North just bought the best sailors. Now, I just want to make a comment on this. How much is when we're coming to the top guys and women for that matter, how much of it is the rider versus the gear? So if we're talking Pierre, Matteo, your match checks, you know, these sorts of things. What if you had, you know, what do you think? Like, how much of it now is going to the gear versus the rider? For example, if you put Pierre on a loft sail or some other sail, is he still going to be at the top? Or any thoughts on that, on Rasmussen's comment?
For sure, a rider can also make good results with a not 100% good sail. But a rider will help to develop that sail, that it will be very good. This is basically the connection. So basically getting Pierre on board with a bad sail, first of all, Pierre will never do this. Pierre is a guy who's really 100% checking what are the sales, what is the performance, what can I expect, because they have to make a living out of it. So this is for them really, really important. So first of all, they're making this choice actively. And I can tell you, Pierre will not have gone to, let's say, other random brands, which he does not think that he can win with. This is point one. But if we would take Pierre and we are not having a great sale, we are having those guys with an exceptional feeling and with an exceptional knowledge about testing and product development and so on. And with those guys, the sales are getting better in a very short amount of time. And this is basically the connection that not a lot of people are seeing. Because this is also the reason why we're having two top guys, so that they can even work together and improve the sales on a high level. High level.
I mean, there's different theories. If you buy the top guy, and then he doesn't do well on your gear, this is also like a big difference maker. Like, you know, Antoine Albeau obviously famously went from Neil Pride to Severn. And okay, it's a bit of a different one because it's kind of a legacy name, and he's never going to, he's never going to do bad. But you kind of thought, okay, but if he doesn't do the speeds he was doing before, if he doesn't do the whatever, people are going to say, ooh, you know,
it's a risk, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a risk. So if you sign one of the top guys, exactly, I was saying it the other week, you've got to sign them to either make your product better, but then that guy is going to spend a few years, which he might not want to be, not getting as much prize money. He's going to have a massive salary. And, you know, there's the whole things that come with it. But most of the guys now, and we saw it with a few famous riders in the past. I think Tosselli was probably a big one. He was very comfortable on starboard and 0.7, the next best thing. Then sort of followed the money, which fair enough, probably, you know, saw some more money in other brands. When we never saw him again. You know, obviously other things transpired and whatever, but at the same time, you know, looking back, he would have stayed where he was because obviously that combo at that time was really helping him. Not that he wasn't a good rider, of course he was. And he obviously there was other issues as well. But at the same time, it's not so simple. You've got to have stuff that works.
Yes, you need to have equipment that works, and what the people should not forget, it's not just always about having the top rider and having the result. It's also about having a story to tell, and a story to tell when we are having Pierre on board is something we can bring out to the whole windsurfing world, and this is also something which is, in my opinion, very important.
And obviously French, does that make a difference in your choice? You know, there's obviously some nations which
for sure,
again, have got more following. Obviously Germany, you were saying before, you know, you're early, for people who wasn't tuned in earlier, you know, you basically, your career in windsurfing was German championships, you know, and obviously IFCA, and you proved yourself on the world tour numerous times, but that was never your thing. Your thing was, you know, getting the money in, smashing the German championships, and then every so often turning up at the World Cup and upsetting some of the World Cup boys.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I'm just having a look at. There's a lot of comments. We'll probably not be able to get through all of them, but there's a lot of people talking about that they're happy to see that you're talking a lot about the beginner market and obviously simplicity. You know, trying to encourage all that aspect, the lighter winds. So that, I think, obviously, we all agree that that's something that windsurfing needs to leverage a lot more into. The other thing too is, I often say to people when this discussion comes up, but we have the history in windsurfing to see what worked. You know, windsurfing boomed in the beginning because they were all longboards and triangle sails, and everyone could get into it, wasn't it? I mean, it actually was the ultimate simplicity back then.
But this is what I said. You could teach your friend on your gear. So you turned up to the beach, you went windsurf. They went, oh, I like that. You're like, oh, take it for a spin.
Well,
whereas now they go, oh, I like that. Can I take it for a spin? You're like,
well, it's funny you should say that because I'm sure it's happened to all of us. But you turn up at the beach with your shortboard and your mate's there goes, oh, can I have a go? And you're like, well, I'm sorry, mate. You're not going to be able to use this. And then they look at you like you're being arrogant. You know, you're like, well, I'm sorry, mate. It's just you won't be able to use it. You'll hate it. And then you sort of think, oh, how are you supposed to get someone into the sport? Because they're just thinking, I can't even do this. Like I know it's such an interesting little thing here. It's saying here, Rasmus is saying Matteo and Maciek use MDM with Saverne and Neil Pride. So that's interesting. That's
I think there's some undercover people use it. You don't notice it. It's not something that stands out. It's not like a sail or a board.
No.
Someone asking, are you going to the Furman Festival or Defi Wind? What's your plan?
Peter Beale will be in Defi, and I will go to the.
Okay.
So we're going
to cover both bases.
And because I think it also makes sense that I'm more responsible for the German market because, talking German sometimes makes it easier.
I should ask, are you still racing?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No,
but I
exactly,
really, No. And you can see in the background, I just got my sales also. So I will be competing on some races. We will have at the beginning of May, we will have a North 1 hour in Kühlungsborn in Germany. Do a 1 hour race like back in the day. So German Championship. But not so many more events. To be honest, usually I was about, like, say, 200 to 230, 250 days on the water. Right now I had 12. So not too many. It's a little sad. But there's just so much work to do in the office. So, but I will still be on the race course. And honestly, as soon as I'm on the water, I'm the happiest person on earth. So I can really enjoy it.
That must be pretty terrifying, like having you as the brand manager or the category manager, because it's always bad when the category manager, the brand manager is a really good windsurfer, especially when you're a sponsored rider. Because, like in racing, you can have a few national guys and I'm sure, you're not slower. Maybe you haven't got the longevity as you had a few years ago. Maybe you're more time in the office, but I'm sure you've still got a fair bit of speed, and it doesn't disappear, as we've seen with Albo and all the guys who are cracking on a bit now. They still got the speed.
Yes, and I was buying some FMX boards because Pierre is also using them, and then I can just call Piero, which fin, which setup, what do we need? So it makes something.
Nice.
Michael's asking, does North have a patent on 3DI? Will other companies copy the technology, or for that matter, can any other windsurf companies do anything remotely similar? No.
Man.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
Impossible.
I mean, that is a hell of a technology. I mean, crikey.
Yeah,
Do they have a patent or just the investment? I think it's probably just the investment needed. It would be pretty hardcore. Well, cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can wrap it up. We'll let you go because you're obviously going to be a busy boy. Any more results came in since we've been doing the podcast?
Well, wait, I didn't check, but I will.
Let's have a look. Because for people who don't know, the IFCA World Championships is on at the moment. Oh, Elimination 3. Elimination 3. I don't know what I can't work it out. Anyone?
No.
Anyone?
On heat number 5 right now.
Okay. So, how are you working it out? It's so complicated. I've really struggled with that website. I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to work it out. But anyway, massive thanks for coming on.
Before we go, I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick fire questions because Maciek did that, and I thought it'd be interesting. What is your guilty pleasure?
Yogurt.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were going to say winging or something. I was like, oh
no. Your top five of windsurfers of all time.
Bernd Flessner, Jordi Wonk, Pierre Mortefon, Antoine and Robin Nash.
In that order?
Okay.
Not sure in that order, but
that's cool. Bernd Flessner, I remember seeing him in the magazines a lot when I was a kid. That's cool. Most underrated windsurfer of all time.
Vincent Langer. I tell you, you know what? I bet you are definitely in for a shout. Like, because I always hear that question. Sorry, I know this is your question answers, but you are definitely in with a shout there. I always think, who would that be? Because you are probably outside of Germany, not known that well, but you have absolutely been at the top of the top. That's interesting. Yeah, that's quite good. I'll let you answer.
I really cannot answer this question. I really have no idea. Because we are having so many exceptional windsurfers. But for me, even though they didn't prove it in competition, they are still exceptional good. We're having amazingly good wave sailors in the region. They never competed, but still they are doing double loops clean.
Yeah.
So it's
but that's kind of what we class as underrated in terms of the public don't really give them the respect, or they haven't maybe heard about them, but their level is, is kind of crazy.
Maybe Amado.
Wow, no, he's definitely not
Amado
underrated.
is definitely under. Amado is by far, in my opinion, the best windsurfer we have on that planet. Back in the days, I would always say was Ross Williams, because he was exceptional also in waves. But as he's quite, Amado is by far the best windsurfer. And for this, probably he's also underestimated, because if he would step on a freestyle competition, for sure he'll be in the top 10 or even.
He is ridiculous. Like the size he is as well, to be able to do what he does. Like I say, he's winning world, let's say, championship at the moment races, and he also can throw down double air culos on a free.
He could out of one. Bam.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's really
unbelievable.
Yeah. One spot you'd sail for the rest of your life.
Oh,
Sylt.
What spot? No. I would say the island. I would say Sardinia.
Oh, okay.
Sardinia.
It's pretty cool.
Anywhere,
I've heard some good reports.
anywhere specifically?
In the north. In the north, there are so many nice spots. They're having a big windsurfing scene. If I'm coming there, it always feels like coming home. We are having a WhatsApp group. People are calling. Every day the people are out with slalom and freestyle and so on. It's such a cool community. Good food, good vibes. No one is complaining when we are standing with a car on the beach, like in Germany or in France. You can just do whatever you want. Super cool.
I want to go. I'm already like, sign me up. Sounds good.
That's cool. And finally, which windsurfer would you like on the podcast? Is there anyone out there you'd like to hear from?
I would like to hear from Micah Buzianis.
Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah. Some of the
he
old
was
legends,
my absolute hero when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And when I was doing my first international competition in Poland, he was giving me a mast because I broke mine. Such a cool guy. I never really talked to him a lot, but I think he's such a good.
And I would like to know.
I
had a feeling, I had a thought yesterday when I was working in the garden, I was thinking like after windsurfing, and we just bring in people who were obviously very famous in windsurfing, but now have dropped out of the scene a little bit, and they've got other jobs. Because we've been talking about windsurfers kind of, you're one of them really, your sort of life after windsurfing and where you go to. Geordie Vonk obviously just buying into TWS Centre, and it is quite interesting to see who goes where. And already Scott Fenton's a classic of he wasn't ever going to shave his mohawk until he won the world title, and then he's obviously doing something right now. But Micah Buzianis, my impression of him, that funny scene of him and Finian Maynard.
I was going to say that exact story. I love that.
Soon as
have you seen that? Have you seen that, Vincent?
No.
It's on the
You could not establish whether I hit him or not. Micah, you lied to my face.
It's on the Jason Pollock About Time video. If you go to the end of that, it's got a clip of Finian Maynard just losing his shit. Buzianis, you did something. This is not what friends do, or whatever he says. And then Buzianis is listening to him, but then turns to the camera with this cheeky grin. It's so funny. You have to say, he looked like a character. He obviously handled pressure pretty well. Yeah. It's cool.
Again, he's probably one of those underrated racers, because I think when he was winning the racing, it was still all about the overall. So maybe he won the race. Did he win the race in Peterway a few times, or again? That's what I mean.
One world champion one time, but I'm not sure about slalom.
Yeah, because I know he won some events and stuff like this, but again, when you think about it, you know, you literally think of Bjorn or Albo, and there was guys, you know, Bringdal obviously, and Boozer Ines, who was in there, you know, winning those things or really pushing them. Yeah, good one, good call.
Yep. No. Well, thank you so much, Vince, for joining us. It's been really interesting, actually. And sounds like there's some exciting things happening at North, and I'm going to be really interested to watch the slalom, you know, with Pierre and Amado, and to see how all that goes. So thanks so much for joining in.
We want you racking up in Thirta for the Slalom X. Come on. Come on. All right, dude.
I think it would be super cool, huh? It would be super cool. Let's see.
That was so good. All right, man. Thanks for joining.
Cool. Thank you
very
much.
See you.
It's that time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress, in the house is Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, 6 plus the world's best quiz. The Cobbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.